You know, if anything, he's really pretty to look at. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another video. I'm BouseFeenux, and this is Watch It in Action. Today, we're covering the Gilded Tactician Vauban Prime, who was recently released in Prime Access. He also received a rework not too long ago, and we're going to be covering that in this video as well. Vauban Prime is pretty much an upgrade across the board, and features some upgraded stats, including increased shield capacity, an extra polarity slot, and, most importantly, he's covered in a bunch of gold stuff. And, you know, we like shiny things. I pretty much kept my old Vauban build with this one, which is based around repelling Bastille. The plus side to this is that I didn't need any Forma for this one, because he already comes with the polarity I would have Forma'd for. If you want to add in an Exilus mod, which I'll probably do in the future, you're going to need about 2 more Forma. Keep in mind that this is how I play Vauban, and I'll go over my playstyle a little more later in the video. The aura slot on Vauban Prime comes with the dash polarity, and as such, I've chosen to throw on corrosive projection. This is my go-to default for dash pull aura slots, but there are many other choices, and sometimes you don't need this mod. Try experimenting. First up in the mod setup, we've got Prime Continuity. Duration is important for Vauban, and affects pretty much all of his abilities in some way. This mod does the trick. Stretch adds to our range, and in my opinion, range is pretty much Vauban's most important stat, at least for the way that I play. Repelling Bastille is the mod this whole setup is built around. You'll notice that I don't really have any power strength on this build, and that's because Repelling Bastille throws enemies back when Bastille is full. The lower the power strength, the fewer enemies can be held, and the sooner they start bouncing off this thing. Note also that this is called an augment mod, and this particular one only works for Vauban. Our next mod, Constitution, was an easy choice for me. It's a bit expensive in the capacity department, but it provides power duration with a little added bonus of quicker knockdown recovery. On the bottom row, Prime Flow adds to our energy pool. Some people argue that you don't need a large energy pool with high efficiency, but I like having it anyway, especially in the Void with a primed Warframe where you get energy for touching death orbs. Overextended is another very important mod for this build. It adds power range at the cost of power strength. Since we're not building for power strength, this mod fits perfectly. I reserved the D polarity on Vauban for a survivability mod. This can be whatever you want. Right now, I'm using redirection. If you're fighting enemies that use toxin procs like Infested or slash-based weapons like the Grenier, you might want to swap out for Vitality. Lastly, Fleeting Expertise rounds out this build by giving us a boost to power efficiency while reducing power duration. I absolutely hate this mod, but until we get Prime Streamline, I'll pretty much just have to live with it. Since this rework, not a whole lot has changed. Vauban's bounce skill has been replaced with Mind Layer, and we'll cover that here in a second. Vauban's first ability, however, is Tesla. When used, Vauban lobs a grenade that deals electricity damage to anything passing through it. Nothing too special about this one. It scales with power strength, but ultimately falls off in damage pretty quickly. This skill will be much better if it dealt a guaranteed electric proc. It would then have some crowd control capability. Mind Layer is Vauban's reworked ability. It used to just throw a bounce pad on the ground, but now has several options associated with it. It functions similarly to Avara's Quiver ability, where tapping the button for it switches out the grenade type. Once you've selected the grenade you want, simply hold down the power button to toss one. There are 4 kinds. Bounce does about what you'd think it does. Throw it on the ground and you have a mobility tool or a nice springy surprise for some unsuspecting enemies. Tripwire is interesting. Throw it on the ground to literally trip enemies that walk through it. This one is kind of funny, but ultimately I don't feel that it's very useful. Shred is the third grenade, and this one is actually kind of useful. Enemies that step over this will be ragdolled into oblivion, and if they survive, they'll have their armor reduced by a certain amount that scales with power strength. The last grenade, and my personal favorite, is the Concuss grenade. When triggered, it generates a guaranteed radiation proc that causes enemies to fight each other. I find this super useful for negating that pesky ancient healer buff. This is also a good alternative to a poor man's Nyx ability if you don't have a Nyx in your squad. Bastille is Vauban's third ability, and pretty much what we've based this whole build around. It hasn't really changed at all since his rework, which is good. It's an awesome skill. To use it, activate the power and Vauban will lob a grenade that creates an energy net and a radius around the point of the grenade's impact. If enemies are caught in it, they'll be helplessly suspended for you to pick off at your leisure. The number of enemies held is determined by power strength. If you have Repelling Bastille on, enemies not being held by the Bastille will bounce off. Currently though, a bug exists where enemies can sometimes just walk straight through. Vortex is Vauban's fourth and ultimate ability. When activated, it creates a small black hole type phenomenon which sucks in any nearby enemies or loot lying around. It deals damage based on power strength, but the damage from this has no scaling and quickly falls off. It's best used as a crowd control tool, and with the build we're running, it works fantastically for that due to our high range and power duration. Normally, I would use the simulacrum to show off high-level play and how I use the build, but I think in this situation, a field test would work much better. This footage is from a Tower 3 survival. Essentially, what I do is find a nice place to hunker down and control all the choke points with bastilles. This will hold enemies in place for me to kill them or keep them out of my area. If I start noticing ancients, I'll drop concuss grenades at various choke points to negate their buff. Pretty simple stuff, and very effective. If you keep up with this strategy, you can go for a very long time, even solo. And that pretty much wraps up this video and all the new stuff from Prime Access. After completing this video, I feel like my channel's in a really good place, and I've covered pretty much all the new Warframe content. I'd really like to get into finishing the Dark Souls series I started and make a few more board game videos. Also, my capture card should arrive Tuesday. Hopefully soon after that, I can start doing some Uncharted 4 gameplay for you guys. I'd really like to sprinkle in some Warframe content with all of that as well. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, definitely support this video with a like. It helps out a lot more than you think. Also, I do have a Patreon up. If you'd like to see me continue to create more videos of this quality, consider pledging $1 on Patreon. It goes a long way. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you at the next video.